Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're doing a Christmas card, and I have made one so far. And it was a card that I saw on Tina Zink's channel, and she did an ink smooshing, which is you take your watercolored paper and you wet it and you drop from your refills, from your Stampin' Up! Ink refills, some different colors on there, and then you just take this and smush it on there and then pull it off, and you've got double background. However, I don't have a lot of, I have colors, but they're brighter, and for what we're going for, I wanted something different, and I did want to use the colors she used. So we're going to be using Tahitian Tide, Starry Sky, and Night of Navy. And I thought what we would do is just do a variation of that and use our water painters and our stamp pads to get that result. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prep. I've got 2 left to prep, so I'm going to prep these and get them ready to decorate. Now this is our watercolor paper. It is 5 by 7, and I've just cut it in half. So now it's 5 by 3.5. I'm just going to double check that. Yep, 5 by 3.5, and that's the size of this. So that's going to be on our card front. And let me show you the sample, the first one that I've done. So here's the card. There's heat embossing, there's Wink of Stella on there. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I put some silver gems on there, but we're gonna do something, I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I had some other ideas after I put this first one there. I did use mostly for the animals. I stamped the animals and I colored them with our color pencils and our blender pens. That's what I used for this, and this is a partial die cutting, and we'll do that. This might be a little bit long. I'm not fully prepped, so it might be a tiny bit of a longer video, and I will try to keep it as short as possible. But first we need to get this background ready. So what I'm gonna do, I have my water painters here in a mug of water. Now there's water in there, but I also just for a little bit more control, like to have a water container next to me, and I just have some napkins beside me so I can kind of dab off. And I brought in my glass mat that I have just because it's a little bit messy and it's easier to clean up. So one thing you can do is you can just squeeze on your, before you open it, and you end up with some ink there, and that can be your paint palette, or you can use your blocks. And yes, I'm gonna dab this, some Tahitian Tide on this one, so I have that ready. And then the Starry Sky, I'll get that on here. And I think just because I don't have a lot of space on here, that's what I'm gonna do, is just do it on my blocks. And then the Night of Navy. Go ahead and just get these ready. And if I need more, I don't have to worry about mixing colors. I can just go to my stamps, blocks, clean them off, and re-dip them in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wide brush, and I'm just going to, I'm going to do a tiny bit of Tahitian Tide, actually, or no, what I want to do is get this wet. So I'm going to go ahead and get this wet all over where but I'm going to save it, the last little bit. I'm not going to get wet because I'm not going to get the watercolor on there because I'm going to be covering part of this up. So I just want to get that ready, and then I'm going to get a paintbrush and just get some water on here. Now you can add more ink, more whatever, but I'm just going to kind of dab everywhere with that. Then I'm going to clean that off, and I'm going to do some Starry Sky. And just kind of add this all over. And what we're going to get is a beautiful effect. Every time you do this, it's going to be different. I'm going to clean that off and get some Night of Navy. And just kind of dab that on there. Just to get some variations. Do a little bit more. Because I want more Night of Navy than anything, but these other colors just kind of lighten up the sky. Okay, now I'm gonna take my wide brush and I'm gonna grab some of this Night of Navy and I'm gonna brush across. And then if you want darker, you can grab some maybe that, grab some ink that hasn't been watered down and just, I really like the brush strokes across the sky. I think it just gives a different variation in color. And you don't have to go straight. You can do whatever you want to do. Now that needs to set aside and dry. And when it's dry, you can go back over it. So I'm going to move this aside and I'm going to clean up this mess and I'm going to get this other panel ready. I am actually making a set of cards for our daughter that I'm sending her, and this is one set, and then she's going to get a mix of another so she can have some Christmas cards to send out. But when I saw this, I thought, oh, I want to get that set out and play with it and do that. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to get water all over this. And I have some panels ready so that we can move on to the next step. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab some Tahitian Tide. No rhyme or reason, wherever you want to put it. Okay. And some Starry Sky. And then some Night of Navy. I just love the way this spreads on here. And having the Night of Navy with some water to it and then going back with just the regular color, it lightens up the Night of Navy. And you can see, whoops. You can kind of see as it's drying the different colors you get for the sky. All right, so now we're going to go back in with our Night of Navy and we're just going to brush across. Now I'm going to grab some of the darker and just kind of go into some areas here that I want to do a little bit more. And we're gonna, I think that's good. Okay. Now I'm gonna set those aside because I can use those again for some more. There's still some good ink on there. All right. So these two need to dry, so I'm just gonna clean up this part here. See if I can stay out of them. See, I'll just set them aside over here. Okay. So here are some panels that I already have done. Whoops. Right here. And I actually went back through, and this is the first one I did. I tried to do something different, but I really liked the way that looked. And then this one here shows variation. I did go back and brush across again with some more Night of Navy just to give a bit of a different sky. And this is one that I started heat embossing on, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. I'm not very good at getting it to stick, so I have to use a the Stamparatus or some stamping platform to get the words to come out bright, but I still struggle with that, so I'll show you how to fix that. Save that. Okay, so now we have these 2 panels. Now what we need to do is get the sentiment. We're going to get all this prepped, and then we'll deal with some die cuts that I've got over there. So what I want to do, I'm going to reach across here and get my stamp platform. Now these these stamps are photopolymer. So because they're photopolymer, you do not need the stamp pad inside your Stamparatus or whatever platform. You can just use the regular hard surface. Okay, so I'm gonna stamp on both of these, and I actually, for this, since I don't have the papers, I use this stamp block right here where it says Stampin' Up to line up my card, so that way I have it in the same place each time. This is the only time you're gonna need the stamping platform, is to get your sentiment on there. I think the snowflakes work just fine the way that we did it. Where's my Merry Christmas? I probably already have it out. Okay, we will use the Peace on Earth, and I'll find my Merry Christmas later. I have a bunch of projects going on. I'm in bizarre mode right now, so Peace on Earth will be just fine. And I'm just going to show you on the one card. So I'm going to get this, I'm going to pull this down so I can line this up where I want it. And I want it kind of up in the corner cut because of where I cut my trees. So you'll want to think about that when we get to the die cutting part, where your wording is going to be and where you want your trees. Okay, so I've picked that up. Now for the Stamparatus, you want to have your stamp case underneath, and we're going to get the VersaFine. Make sure I have my, yep. And when I go to heat emboss this, I will just pause the video, and then we will go ahead and I'll go ahead and get the word heat embossed, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and get that stamped on there. I'm going to do this a couple of times because I have such a hard time, I don't understand. It is a good idea, I didn't do it just now, to use your embossing buddy over this so it doesn't stick, because I have that issue as well with it sticking everywhere. But because of the way the sky is, I don't really mind if there are some. It'll just look like little itty bitty snowflakes. I'm going to do this a few times, and maybe I need to re-ink my pad, but I don't heat emboss that often, so I don't know why I would need to. But okay, 4 times. Let's hope that that has enough on there. And I'm just going to move this out of the way for the moment. Now we have the tray here, and I'm going to look for my white. Here it is. Now you can use this to put this in to get your powder on your card. I'm going to get a little bit more on there. I feel like it's just not... Okay, that's probably good. And the cool thing about this is you can just take this and easily put this back in its container. And this was a little bit dirty. It's good to have it cleaned out, but I don't mind. Okay. All right, I'm going to put all these back in here for right now, except leave my white out. Close this up. Another thing you can use if you don't have this tray is is coffee filters. That's usually what I use. So that way I don't have to worry about contaminating with different colors my heat embossing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this video and get this embossed, and I'll be right back. Okay, that is embossed, and so and that looks really pretty in the sky. So pretty. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, it comes with these snowflakes. So I'm going to grab a set of snowflakes and my Versamark, because we're going to do some more heat embossing. And for this, I didn't have any problems. I don't know why I have problems with the words, but I did not have any problems with this. So I'm just going to randomly put these, and I'm going to flip my block every so often, just so I have some snowflakes on here. Let's see what that gives me. And I'm going to grab my coffee filter. Okay, so we have some snowflakes there. I'm going to go ahead and get that heat embossed. Okay, we've got some of the snowflakes on there, but I'm going to take my tree that I've we'll partially die cut another one of these. I'm going to need a couple. And I'm going to just place this on here and look at it, and I think I want some more snowflakes in here. So I'm going to do a few more. Do some there, maybe up in that corner, right there. Let's see how that goes. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. And you just keep adding snowflakes until you're happy with it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this heat embossed, and we'll be right back. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So here is this, and I got ink all over this, so now I'm going to need to, well, I can cover it with my deer. But, so I'm pretty happy with that, with the trees on there, on how the snowflakes look. So we're going to do one more thing to this background, and then our background will be ready. So another technique she showed is to take your Wink of Stella. Let me clean this and get this out of the way. Okay, and I'm going to need my small water painter for this. So what she did is she took the Wink of Stella and just squeezed some of it on the block here. Getting all this beautiful shimmer. Okay, that's probably good. Last time I did this, I put way too much on there. And then we're going to take just a little bit of water and squeeze that on. Water it down. And we're going to take, I'm going to use this, and we're just going to shake this on here like this, all over, until you're happy with it. I need some more towards the top. Okay. So I don't know if you can see this on camera. When it dries, it's going to get more shimmery. That's what I have done with this card. And I don't know, let me see. Stand up and see. See if you see it in the light there, the little sparkle? It just adds that little tiny bit of sparkle in the background. So we're going to set this aside to dry. And I usually just leave it to dry because I'm doing other things. So I'm going to set this aside to dry, but we'll be working on this one. And if I need to, I'll take the heat gun to it and just dry it. Okay, that's all we have with that. That background is ready. Now I'm going to see. Let's see, which one did I make? I made that one. So I don't think this deer, that deer will not hide. So what I've cut out, I've stamped and colored the deer, the child, the other reindeer, and the bunny. And I've colored them with the watercolor pencils and used the blender pen. And for the harness, I did pull in my blends, and I used, I think I still have a soft suede, so I just used a darker brown, whatever brown you have if you want to, unless you have something different you want to use in your watercolor. I just wanted a different effect than the color I had available, so that's what I used. Now, for that card, this is salvageable. I'm going to go wash my hands. I can cover that up somehow, but I want to show you how to do that. So I will be right back. Okay, so I have cut some basic white cardstock, just some regular basic white cardstock by 3.5, just a little over 3.5. It'll leave a little bit off the edge and I can cut that and that's fine. And I did it by 4.25. And we're going to do partial die cutting. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these trees that are in the stamp set here, and I think I have an available block. Let me see. And I'm going to use, the color I used on that card is Shaded Spruce. I'll just use my big block. Put that on there. Grab the Shaded Spruce. Okay, so Shaded Spruce. And then we're just going to get the stamps. I'm going to set these aside. Now, when you are doing these cards, you want to think about where you want these trees, because we're only cutting into the white part just a portion, and then we're going to leave some of it attached. So you just have to think about, do you want the trees more to this side? Do you want them off-centered, centered, over to this side? So you just think about where you want the trees when you're getting ready to stamp. Now again, this is approximately 3.5. I do a little bit bigger just to make sure I have enough to cover the bottom. And I'm going to get this all stamped up. Make sure this is in focus or in frame. And then I'm going to put my trees as close to the top where my die cutter might get it. And I'm going to move this one over to the side just a little compared to what I had the other one. So you can change this up in your cards. Your cards will already be different because of the, each watercolor will be different. And there's my trees. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp a couple more because I do need them. What I do with my papers, here they are. Might as well while I have them out. I'm not going to cut these all on camera, but since I need them, I'm just going to go ahead and get them stamped. Especially after I mucked up the one that I had ready. And this is a good way just to kind of make a whole bunch when you want to make a set for people. And I leave it on just a few seconds to make sure that the ink soaks in. All right, so we've got all those stamped. I'm going to go ahead and close this, set that aside, and then clean the stamp off. And I love this stamp cleaner. It's so convenient. I just pre-spray it ahead of time when I know I'm going to be stamping. And I can always spray more, which looks like I need to. And then you've got one side, it shows the water droplets over here and the sunshine over here. So you've got your cleaning side with moisture and then your dry side. And when I first got this, the instruction says to run it under the sink. So when you've cleaned a lot, because you're transferring the ink to here, when you're cleaning it off, you can go in and just run it under water to clean it and get that ink off and let it dry, and then you're good to go. So very easy. All right, partial die cutting. Now this card is the first time I've done the partial die cutting, and I kind of really like it a lot. It adds a really nice dimensional effect to your card, I think. So you can actually do this on the mini. This one will fit, this technique will fit with the mini. So I'm just gonna do one. We're gonna get the die out that cuts those trees out right here. Bring out my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I want to be very careful with those, and I'll show you where I got those here in just a minute. Okay, are we in frame? Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and lay this down, and this is a good time to use some washi. I have a piece here. Probably need another piece. We're just going to line our die up with this stamp here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lay that there, because sometimes when you're putting stuff through the machine, it will wiggle, and it can be offsetting a little bit. So I'm just going to put a couple right there just to hold it. Don't need a lot. Go ahead and put this through. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut, but we're not going to put this all the way through. I'm going to try to leave some of this bottom here without it going through and cutting. So we're just going to cut, and that's the partial die cutting. And when I think I'm at a good spot, because the rollers are inside, so you just have to practice with it to where you get it where you want it. I'm going to lift this up and see what it looks like. And that is a little bit higher, but that's okay. But if you don't, let's show you what you can do. So if you don't like it and you want it a little bit lower, you can, because it's already cut, it just takes a minute to feel the ridges where it has cut. And you just wiggle it back into place. There we go. And then put that back in. And it's all by feel for that. And then you can go a little bit further if you want to. Just remember where you were at last, and then back out. And you can go a little bit further. Okay, so we have that piece. Let's go ahead and put all this away. So that's your partial die cutting for your trees. So now is the assembly. You already have all your pieces set aside. I want to go over a couple other things here, because we're going to do this card just a little bit different. You have this beautiful deer, you have this fox. There's so much you can do with this set. It's so fun. And it is not a bundle anymore, but you can still buy the stamps. This is called Regal Reindeer, and the dies are called Reindeer dies. You can still get this. They're in the annual catalog. Okay, so I have used this tree because I want to do something with these. And it cuts out the tree with the dimensions, the little cutouts of the branches. And I showed you that I cut out the 2 different reindeer and the child and the bunny. This piece here I used, and I do save my scraps, especially the shiny paper. This is just a little tiny die, and it cuts little tiny circles. Now, if you notice on this card here that I have completed, I have the silver gems, which raises it up quite a bit. And for the most part, I like flatter cards. For others, for me, I don't mind the dimension, I'll send them. But for others, to make it more cost effective for sending out a card, I try to keep everything as flat as possible. This card you could raise up with dimensionals, you could raise up the pieces with dimensionals. That's totally up to you. There's so much you can do with this. But I thought it would be kind of neat to try on this next card, cutting these circles out. And I'm going to bring this up. So here is what those circles cut out. And I thought those would be nice to use to decorate the that area where I did that, plus more of this, plus more of the reindeer's harness. Okay, so I used those dies. All right, now it's a really great Christmas set. And you know, I live in Alaska, and this card is Alaskan to me, totally Alaskan. Okay, so now back to our partial die cut piece. So where you cut, you see where the lines are, but we haven't cut all the way through. You're just gonna take your paper snips and just kind of cut maybe some hilly areas and meet up where the die cut that tree. And you're gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna see where the last cut was. And I'm just gonna kind of go, and you can kind of wiggle your scissors a little bit. And go in there and cut. And there, now you have a nice, beautiful white heel that those trees are on. Now let's see what this looks like. If it feels pretty dry. And if you've noticed, there's watermarks on it now, and I don't know if you can see the shimmer. Fun. Okay, so this is gonna go right here. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that beautiful snowy hill. I love it. Oops, I'm gonna lose those. Okay, so if I'm gonna put this card side by side, and I'm gonna show you something I kind of wanted to do. First off, when you cut these out, they have these dimensions in here. I find it easiest, now I have the new pick part on here, the thinner one. I find it easiest to kind of just take that and just pop those up. And you can go as dimensional as you want, but I kind of want these to have some dimension, and I'm going to see what it looks like before we glue it down. But you can go in and just kind of pop those a little bit so that they bring out that dimension. You just got to be patient with it. Could add some Week Estella on top of here too, just to make that snow shimmer a little bit. Now what I was thinking about doing was adding this to the background behind so that we have some more trees. Oh, I think that would be lovely. We have some more trees. We have another one here. I cut a few out because I wanted to see. I really love this design of die cut for a wintry scene. Okay, we've got some dimension, and I thought maybe we just stick a couple back behind so you have more trees, and I think that's perfect. So let's see, my placement is good. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my adhesive. Where are my tweezers? Here they are. I'm going to use my tweezers. It's easier for me to glue and attach with the small pieces with tweezers. And you don't need a ton, you just need enough to make sure it sticks. Kind of place this where I want it. right there is good. And having a pair of reverse tweezers is nice because it's like a third hand. Yeah, a third hand. All right, so I kind of have this where I want it, so I'm going to place this back here again. Yeah, I think that's going to be really nice. I'm going to bring that one down just a little bit. All right, so there is that. Now we can attach this piece here. So I'm just going to flip it over, add some glue. I don't really care if the top of the trees stick because I feel like it just adds more dimension. I'm just going to line that up with the bottom and top edge, maybe overhang a little bit because I have a little bit of a watercolor mess, and just get that adhered. Now the reason I cut mine a little bit, just a tiny bit bigger than the 3.5 is so that I can make sure I have enough to cover, and then I'm just gonna flip that over and trim it off. So there's the start of our panel for our card. Isn't that beautiful? Loving it. So I did this one with the reindeer and the bunny. I'm going to do this one with the reindeer standing up with the little ornament on his ear with the child giving him an apple. I think that's just an awesome. So all I'm going to simply do is attach this onto the card. And I'm probably going to use my tweezers just to make sure I get it where I want it. And I want him as far over as possible here. I'm okay if his tail sticks off a little bit because this is just the panel. Now you can also add dimensionals here, but like I said, they're for our daughter, so I want to make sure that she can send these with just a regular postage stamp. And I'm going to bring him or her down just a little bit. You will notice in a lot of my cards, blue is my favorite color, and there's usually some sort of blue added to each card, usually. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure these are stuck down, and I'm going to do a little bit of some shading on the bottom because that's what I did on here. Now we have this great stamp that's like a ground stamp right here. We're going to use that, and I'm going to grab the Balmy Blue first. And I'm just going to go and lightly, and we're going to have a blender pen, and I'm just going to lightly add a little bit of blue where they're standing, just the tiniest bit, just to give some shading. I'm going to add some maybe under the tree, some right there at the top, maybe some down here, just to give some shading to the snow, just the tiniest bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and come in with the blender pen and just kind of smear that around. It's very subtle, but you can see it. It just gives it that little bit of extra dimension on here. Now what I did with this, and I've dirtied up all my blocks, but I can use this side. So here is my my little background, and what I did is I put the color away. I used Smoky Slate. For the ground, and I stamped off because I didn't want it so dark. I just want it subtle. So I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to just stamp off, and then I'm just going to go and add some here. Maybe add some up there. Add a little bit down here. And it just gives some dimension to it. So that's all I need to do there with that. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and let's see what next. We're going to decorate with our some of these little gold things that I wanted to do on the reindeer. Okay, so I need the take your pick tool, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I'm just going to, if I can, add the smallest amount. I think this is going to turn out really, really nice. The smallest amount of glue. You know? No, my table's a mess. I could do it right here. I'm going to put a little bit on my mat, or on my glass thing here. And I'm going to pick one of these up and just kind of dab it in the glue. And then place that on there. I'm going to get another take your pick tool because I change out these tips a lot. This glue will dry clear. It is a little bit sticky too. So again, you can use your embossing buddy to get that so it's not so sticky. You just rub it on there after it's dry. Now these are not cards. I mean, I do sell my cards, but these are not cards I would make to sell because they're so time consuming. These are special. Oh goodness, that is so pretty. So do you see on the deer? And that just leaves a nice flat little piece. Now I'm just going to try to lay these down and see if I want to put any in here on these circles. You can also use your silicone mat to put your glue on. I think that would be very nice. So I'm going to go ahead and do that too. So I think I'm going to use my scissors too. They're a little bit of a finer point. Grab some more glue. Now for me, it's funny I say I'm a impatient crafter, but I actually really like to work with little tiny things. I don't know why. Just the meticulous. I have the patience for that. And I cut extra more than I needed just because I knew I would possibly lose one or two or three. Okay, get that over just to make sure that it's where I want it. All right, and there's our panel. Isn't that beautiful? I think it turned out really nice, and I love these little circle pieces here. Okay, now I'm gonna clean. I don't think I need to worry about that too much. Okay, so now we need to, hopefully I have a card base cut. Let's see. The ones I prefer, because I think they display nicely when you have a panel in that orientation. I do. Okay. I'm running low. I need to cut some more. So all we're going to do is mount this right here. And all my cards, I'm going to use this wishing you a wonderful season filled with all the good things that warm your heart and lift your spirit. It's perfect for these cards. So all I'm going to do now is just add this panel. It's all ready for the card on this simple white background. I'm just going to lift it up to make sure I have it centered on here. If you lay it lightly, you have a second to move it around to where you think it's good. And so then we have the card centered. And then all that's left to do is put your beautiful sentiment in there on the inside. Now for this, if you don't get, just really quick note, if you do not get a good cut on there, you can use, this is one of my favorite go-to pieces. You can use one of these, and I'm not going to do it here because I think the video is already probably pretty long. You can cut one of these out and just put that right there over that spot. Simple fix. All right, I hope you enjoyed the card we made today, and I hope it inspires you to get out your stamp and die sets and play with them and come up with some good card designs, or get inspired by some other card design and make it kind of your own. Thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next one.